Hello and welcome to Shite Talk, an Irish history podcast. This is the final episode of season 5.
Is it?
You excited, Jason?
Is it?
Technically, maybe.
We'll see how we feel next week. If we're about to break records, we might release another one just to pad the stats.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's what we're all about. We're all about stats padding.
So we're about padding stats, and then we have the stats, and then we just show them to nobody.
Yeah, no one cares. So
we just look at them. I'll take a screenshot of it and send it to Jason, or vice versa, and then we're like, class. Any day now, the mayor of podcasts will ring us.
Yeah, I think that's how it happens. Or I think the stork brings us a new studio or something.
Yes, yeah. But we'll see how we get on. But this is there'll definitely be a special anyway. We'll have another cowboy special within the next couple of weeks, and that'll be technically still season 5. But I think next up is you've tackled the FAI, and then next up is the banks. That's the one I'm working on.
They're the two most corrupt organisations in Ireland. It's the FAI and then the banks, and in that order.
And but I keep thinking of that. I think it's one of the later Simpsons episodes, which but it's still from like 12 years ago, where the kids are like broadcasting their parents' secrets over a radio show because they're put under curfew.
Yeah, that's a great episode.
A great episode, and every week they're like, or the first episode they talk about loads of stuff about Homer, and then at the end of it he's like, well, at least I'm out of the way, and they're like, and of course there'll be plenty more of Homer Simpson. I feel like every episode there'll be plenty more of John Delaney. There'll be a new subject every time, but plenty more of John Delaney.
Well, he's the man that just keeps giving to himself.
He does.
Illegally.
Yes, he's the man who keeps taking. But what if we have a few shout outs for this week, and then we'll barrel into the most requested episode ever.
Oh yes, you're right. This is my one, isn't it? It's Grace O'Malley.
It is, yeah.
But yeah, we do have some shout outs. We Patrick Shelley, great grandson of Mary Shelley. I'm not sure if that's true, but he did give us a nice donation and said, thanks lads for keeping us abreast of Irish history, laughing all the while. No week is complete without some shite talk. I would tend to agree, Patrick. Thank you.
Yes, I see that. I got excited there thinking that he was the grandson of Mary Shelley, but I see you just made that up there. But we did have a message from a guy called Ivan on the Instagram page at Shite Talk History, who is a descendant of Marconi, or actually he's a descendant of, well, I don't know, he told me that Marconi from the other week's episode was related to John Dunlop, the inventor of the tyre, who also lived in Dublin around the time, and that they're all three of them descended from Louis XVI, the Sun King.
Oh.
Who comes up a lot in this podcast.
The Sun King, is that not a prince?
It might be a song by Prince, I'm not sure. But also, I've seen this mentioned a few times recently, now that like the royals are in the news again, and people talk about Queen Elizabeth being the longest serving royal, I suppose. Not a tap. Louis XVI is still, I think, 5 years ahead of her. He's the longest ruling monarch in Europe.
Still
anyway.
going strong.
Still going strong from like 400 years ago. But we also had some funds from Graham Harkness again, who was looking for a shout out. But he won't see penny one from me until he sends those damn tangerines he promised. Who else had we got?
We had a Lara from Instagram who gave us lots of nice... There's loads of people who've been sending in nice messages, but unfortunately we don't have time to get to all of them because I'm in the middle of trying to get this done before a work break because we still have full-time jobs and I'm in Texas while he's in Dublin and it's the time difference and a whole thing. So we do need to, before we finish, because if this is the last episode of the season, we need to say, lads and ladies, all go out onto the Instagram, follow us there at Shite Talk History. Or Kevin at Kevlar Comedy, Jason B Comedy. Go buy our merch at Shite Talk, Big Cartel, all of this stuff, reviews, etc. Tell people, spread the word. I feel like a preacher.
You are a preacher. You're preaching the shite word. But yeah, if you follow us on Instagram, we should have some interesting news to reveal in the next month or so. I bet another thing we're working on. Well, just a different aspect of this thing, but you'll find out all about it there.
Yeah, it's big news and it's pretty exciting, but we can't say because it's not 100% yet. But
yes,
it's safe to say by us doing very little work, eventually that'll manifest itself into reality. Because that's how the podcast tends to work so far.
And that's about it then. So, do you want to you introduce the episode? It's this is your one.
Okay, yeah. So since the first season of the podcast, I would say, even back when like no one was listening, when it was just our friends and family, even then strangers were messaging in saying, could you do an episode on Grace O'Malley, the Pirate Queen? And I always really wanted it, but never had the time. And then a few months ago, I had like a few days off, put some, I was drinking and smoking, I'll be honest, and I was just going down a big deep delve of Grace O'Malley and pirates. And I put some stuff together, wrote it, we recorded it. I haven't heard it since, and I don't know when that was. It was a while ago. So, I mean, I hope it's good.
It is. I just finished editing it there. We were very, and by we, I mean I was very drunk when we did that one. But it's good. It's a lot of fun. And it's a nice, I think it'll be a nice send-off for the end of the season.
Okay, so that's it. And also, cheers everyone for staying with us through all the pandemic and 5 seasons of us talking shite.
Yes.
Long may the Louis the King 6th season of Shite Talk continue.
Yes, and happy St. Patrick's Day.
Oh yeah, that's a thing I forgot. Yeah, sorry.
Just in time.
Yes, happy St. Paddy's Day to everyone and all that.
Yes, alright. Here it is.
Gather around now, you're in for a story. Old tales of lore, all in search of a glory. The history and mystery of lads, lasses and all. Discoveries and voyages, the rise and the fall.
Follow me now as we go back in time. We trace the steps of Irish lineage to find. Joseph from Carlo and Kevin the Dog guide you through the ways of Shite.
Born Gráinne Ní Mháille, or Gráinne O'Malley, or maybe you'd know her as Gráinne Whale, or Mháille, or Gran Huaul, or maybe you'd know her as Grace O'Malley.
So this story, it's Grace O'Malley, the Pirate Queen. I think this is our most asked for.
Heavily requested, for
Heavily
sure.
requested.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah, since we've been doing this podcast, I think this is probably the most requested single individual.
Yeah, I'm not going to give out the names of the other 2 episodes that we keep getting requests for, because it'll be surprises in the future. But
because every time someone says one of them in particular, you're like, funny enough, I'm working on that very story. And you've been saying that for 1.5 years now.
And I actually haven't been working on the story at all. I refuse to do it. It's a guy from Montana, and I'm not doing it until I get to go to Montana. I meant to film a short film up there at some point, and then COVID got in the way, and now it keeps getting in the way. And then at some point I will be up there, and I'm gonna go to because he has a statue and everything. I'm giving up too much information.
Yeah.
So anyway, back to Grace. Grace was born in Mayo in 1530. Although back then the area she was from was called Hall or Wall, the southwest of Mayo, Clew Bay, I believe.
Okay.
Now I think she lived on a place called Clare Island.
Okay.
Did
you find a hint in Clew Bay?
No, I was just guessing.
Yeah. Okay.
It was right beside Shot in the Dark Peninsula.
Right down from the. I'm gonna have a stab at it. Tombolo.
I knew a lad called that once.
Yeah, great name.
She was an only child, but had a half brother, her dad's bastard child, Donald Na Píopa.
Well, then she wasn't an only child.
Half brother.
Yeah.
I don't know enough about. I came from a family where the 2 parents found each other at a certain age and then loved each other unconditionally until I'd say until their death. They're both alive. Which makes it now seem like I'm saying that, they love each other, but I could see it going south in the next couple of years.
Yeah, one of them dies, yeah.
How Anne's always given out to him about pulling in all the bacon.
Pulling in all the bacon?
Yeah, bringing home the bacon,
bringing
it on
home
the
the bread.
Yeah,
putting the bread on the table, yeah.
Well, that's because Irish people didn't have money, so it probably should have been bringing home the bacon, but then our Irish dads wanted to set expectations very low. So, I bring home the bread. It was meant to be a full meal. I had the rest.
Who puts the bread on the table? One slice at a time every fortnight.
Well, they say don't they say a pint of beer is the equivalent of 4 slices of bread?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, in calorie terms. And also in financial terms for your family.
Yeah, in feeding your family, kind of. Yeah, that's more of an Angela's Ashes kind of thing. But also, I'm not sure if he was a bastard, to be honest, because there's at least one account, but because there's one account saying so, and that, I don't know, that's just the world we live in now. I found one thing where it said that, and then all the other accounts didn't say that, but because one of them did, I was like, maybe they all just left it out.
Yeah. Well, at this stage doesn't matter.
Not at this stage of the story, really. No, I
No.
don't think it's important at all. But it is taking up quite a bit of time now. Her family.
Yeah, I don't know. Like at any stage in this story, will it become important whether his parents were married or not before he was born?
But no, it would probably mean that at the time, scandal having a baby with one woman and having a baby with another, or maybe having a baby with a man and then having a baby with another man.
I think, but like this is
Scandalous.
cyclical. If you go back that far, I don't think it was. Maybe it was. What do I know?
You should know more. You're hosting a podcast about Irish history.
Don't know about the marriage customs of the 1530s. We had a very nice message from someone who most of the message was commenting on your mispronunciation of the Talteen Games, which I can't slag you for because I actually forget how she pronounced it in the message. But another part of it was about the marriage customs from the area where the Talteen came from. This is like the old Irish marriage customs where they would just get married for a year, and if they didn't like it, they'd just part ways after a year. No fuss, no muss.
What a great idea!
A fantastic idea, and it makes complete sense.
Oh yeah, and you'd know.
Like that's wild.
you'd so
Imagine
know.
spending 12 months with someone before committing to a lifetime with them and raising children. It's so outside the box. It's crazy thinking.
But
why wouldn't you just get married to them the second that you see them and then just hope for the best for the next 60 odd years?
What's worse is my fear of commitment is so bad that as you were saying that, I was like, I completely forgot the concept of dating.
Yeah.
that exists today. Yeah. I was like, oh, wouldn't that be amazing? Imagine getting to be married to someone for a year and then getting an easy exit strategy. No, you could just date someone, Jason. You could just...
Yeah, it's called modern dating.
I haven't done it for years. I don't know. It's
Well, so he's a bastard son. Maybe that's got the same connotations as Game of Thrones in the past. Maybe they're just like, yeah, all right, your parents weren't married, but here you are.
They probably would have been okay because like the O'Malley's were a dynasty. They were seen as very well-to-do. They were famous in the area. So she grew up in she would have grown up in relative comfort, which makes sense as, you know, people who own boats are usually made up of two types of people. The ones rich enough to own them and then the ones poor enough to have to work on the water.
Yeah, fair enough. The ones who can't afford to work on land.
Yeah, that's the slogan. Terra Marique Putens. It means valiant by sea and land. That's what the O'Malleys were known for.
Oh, really? That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Do you know what the Larney family motto is?
Scots on sea and on land. By sea, by land, by air. We'll get you. It doesn't translate directly into English, but that's the rough gist of it.
You can run, but you can't... no, you can hide. Sure, look.
You can run and you can hide.
I don't think Brennan's has one. Today's bread today, possibly. Or
yeah, probably, yeah.
Sold as seen, no refunds.
Or you can connect me to that. I have an alibi.
Are you sure it wasn't my brother? He looks a lot like me. But I'll start this out by saying that seemingly all the info we have on Grace comes from the British, right? Because nobody in Ireland at the time took any notes or paid attention to her. Maybe they just couldn't write.
'Tis always the way.
Tis. You know, you have to go out onto the sea. You have to go become famous elsewhere. We talk about that all the time.
You know, you don't become... The Irish pirate market has been famously small for years. You're not really recognised within it until you become a famous British pirate.
Well, that's it, because we've always been producing so many more cowboys than we have pirates. It's tough to...
Yes.
Yeah.
Cowboys, gangsters and terrorists have been like our main movie villain exports. We haven't done too much of pirates yet.
Cowboys, gangsters and terrorists. Yeah. It sounds like the kind of children's board game that sell to you in Newry. Now, this is...
You know what it is, Jason? It sounds like fucking Monopoly. Those should be the tokens. You know what I mean? You know what I'm saying?
No, this is
gangsters.
This is back in the time of Henry VIII, who was King of England and Lord of Ireland.
Yes.
And back then, they'd sort of just let the Irish lords and gentry just leave them off to their own devices. Like her da own Duvara O'Malley, ruler of Umphal, the West Mayo, wherever. They were well known for being handy on boats and built castles by the coast. They would charge people who fish in their waters. Very forward thinking.
Yeah, I don't know why that seems so wild to me, and yet, you know, if they had been charging people for hunting on their land, you're kind of like, all right, fair game. But charging them for fishing in their waters, it's madness. It's the same. They're equally mad.
Now you sound like Norway and their EU fishing policy.
Yeah, it sounds like the Brexit negotiations. How can you charge someone for fishing in water? Or how can you let someone fish in your water for free? I don't know which side of that argument they're on, but either way, it's scandalous.
Well, it's actually said that the fishermen would come from as far away to fish in these waters, Kevin, as England.
Jesus, imagine that.
So I don't think that it seems like that not that many people were travelling all the way up there.
No.
Although I do remember when I was in geography, in geography class in secondary school, or maybe it was in business class, I'm not sure, but at some point it was
It could have been an off-topic business class.
Yeah,
or a very off-topic maths class, I don't know.
No, because it was about the EU and how there was like 2 or 3 nations that were in it but didn't go with the fishing laws. I think Norway was one of them. But then, and they were saying
Switzerland, but they weren't so much a problem.
They were just neutral about the whole thing. They didn't really care if you took their fish or not.
They're like, work away. You can have our shoreline.
But no, I remember there was like the big talking point in the class was, hold on a second. You're telling me that there's a bunch of Spaniards coming up taking our fish?
Yeah.
Taking the Irish fish. Now, it could be from anywhere, but that's it always stuck in my head. I've always had this idea of just a bunch of Spaniards off the coast of Ireland stealing our fish. And that's where the arch in Galway came from.
That's exactly, yeah. I feel like we've explained that arch 700 times in this podcast. Each one slightly different.
Increasingly more incorrect.
Yeah, but that was, like when Ireland joined the EEC initially, the big sticking points were fishing rights off the Atlantic and the farmers getting a good price for their beef. Because those are the sort of things we cared about back in the 70s. And also the exact same things we care about today. And
buying holiday homes in Bulgaria, that was pretty important.
That was very important to the thing. I'd imagine if we were like joining the EU today, those would be the exact same talking points, but possibly also like tax deductions for tech companies. But mainly farming rights and fishing.
Yeah, more than likely. Well, back to the fishing, Kev. As a kid, she knew she wanted to be out on the boats with all the lads, but typical Ireland in the 1530s, women were told they couldn't do such things. Women should stay on land and get educated. So oppressive. you know, Ireland back in the day, not on.
You're not welcome out in this boat onto a dead-end job that'll destroy your body over years and take away the use of your hands and back. You've got to stay on land. You've got to educate yourself and use your mind to achieve better things. You stupid woman.
But one day, Grace has enough of the lads doing all the dirty work, and she cuts off her hair, dresses up like a young fella, and tries to sneak onto the boat and head off away towards Spain, no less. And now she's caught, and the family all laugh at her and give her the nickname Gráinne or Bald Gráinne.
That's good. I like the idea that they're doing puns in Irish. There's Gráinne, because with my bad grasp of the language, I thought that Gráinne meant lover of apples.
I thought it was just a very, very small portion of something.
Give me a granule there.
Well, this is also where the Gráinne Mháille or Mháille, because it's too many names, too many Irish names. I can't speak that language or even pronounce it. Something funny about her here, they might have actually told her that her long hair would get caught in the ropes. And that's why she wasn't allowed on the boat. So that's probably why she shaved her head off. It wasn't just...
Right, so and then they just shifted the goalposts. She cut her hair and they were like, well, actually, now you're too bald. The sun will reflect off your scalp and blind the other sailors, so you have to stay on land still.
We could have told her that the reason she wasn't allowed on the boat was because of her vagina, but given if past is prologue and we told her that with the hair and she cut that off, we're just not even going to open up that can of worms.
But she's Kit Cabneying it.
She is.
Which I previously would have referred to as Moulanning it, but now we've got the Irish touchstone for it.
Now, some accounts say that she was on the ships with her dad from a very young age, and even though there's accounts of her saving his life by jumping off of the mast and attacking a pirate, it's still not good. It's not as good as Bald Gráinne. So I think that's probably why she's written into the history books like this, because some accounts say, she's always on the waves, and then some accounts are like, she's bald.
It's a better story. Who are you going to root for? A heroic young girl who's saving her father's life, or a bold woman?
Yeah,
Sinead O'Connor.
I was going to say Sinead O'Connor. Damn you got there.
I like the idea that rebooting stories and refilming stories and like movies and stuff from the 80s seems like a very modern complaint. been happening all along, like since the 1500s. This woman has 17 origin stories.
Yeah, but for the Bible, like, you know, like everything's just an old story redone. It's like, well, let's just reboot it. Put Chris Hemsworth in it this time. Just put it like, okay, let's get it going. Let's get it going. I like to think both could be true, because that's like when she cut off her hair, that's when they all realized that she was pretty adamant about the whole thing. So she was probably going to get on board somehow, by hook or by crook. When her father passed away, she took over control of the family business and ships, etc., which was very unusual at the time, possibly helped by her brother being a bastard. I imagine that's why they wouldn't give it to him.
Right. And so, like, what is his business, really? Is it just...
being rich.
Owning the sea? So his business is just taking care of...
Yeah, you own a bunch of things that shouldn't necessarily have... owners, and then you charge them.
You shouldn't be able to privatize the sea.
Yeah, but like, I imagine the aim would be then to get the poor people to pay for the use of it, and then also to work for you for less wages than what the produce will actually create. But for you in a monetary gain. So yeah, I assume that's what they're trying to do.
This is what you leftist socialists never understand. The O'Malley family earned the right to own land and water because it was given to them by the British 200 years previous. And just because you're born into nothing and have no prospects doesn't mean you can, like, sully the good name of the family who's providing you the land and sea that you work on. You can't be this ungrateful. The systems are in place for a reason.
Where do you think you would have got your character if it wasn't through a multitude of lashings at the behest of your good lord?
Yes, exactly.
Now, in 1546, a local chieftain called Donal O'Flaherty popped the question, and they made a good team. His family were well versed in the ways of the seas too, and soon Grace would be ruling over her own fleet that surrounded the coast of Mayo. I probably should have said O'Flaherty is rich too, even richer than O'Malley, it looks like.
Oh, Jesus. And O'Malley had a big purse on him.
Now, O'Flaherty would have been the Taoiseach of the family, and would have been expected to one day rule over the area of Connemara, or known at the time, Ir Connacht.
Okay, and he would have been the Taoiseach at that stage. I
assume so, yeah. I had to put it in here. It's weird that they kept that name for... Maybe it's not weird, it's just I had never seen it referenced anywhere outside of the Dáil. And I'm like, oh, right, maybe old families used to just say that about the people who were in charge. But
like, that's where it comes. Taoiseach means, like, chief. Or, sorry, Taoiseach does, and then Taoiseach, I guess, means second chief or whatever. But that's, for everyone outside Ireland, that's what we call our leaders still.
Our prime ministers. That's the easiest way to describe it, because then you have to have the whole president debate, and you're like, it's not. Yeah. And then you're kind of like, it's really funny, Americans, because you call the leader of your nation a president, and they run the nation. But in our country, they're called a president, and they don't really have that much power. What world leader actually has power? It's a group of like giant billionaire organizations above it, funneling money into their like election streams just so they can get elected.
Don't fool yourself.
Yeah, like it would be
the O'Flahertys, it's the O'Malleys and the Flahertys that have the real money. They're the ones behind the scene, lobbying for different fishing rights.
But I'll tell you this, Kev. She gave him 3 kids.
Where'd she get them?
Just stole them off some lad on the ocean, I think.
Yeah, probably some poor man.
Some lad working for her, probably. But she had Owen, Margaret, or Maeve, and then Murrow.
Okay. Now, when you said Margaret or Maeve, are you saying that she went by either, or you don't know?
Don't know, and I just I've written down both ways, and I could have went with Maeve, but I have an Auntie Margaret, so I said maybe, I don't know if she listens to the podcast. Shout out if she does. So I went with her. She got precedence. But now life was pretty good between O'Malley and O'Flaherty, by all accounts. They'd spent 19 years married to one another until Donal got ambushed while he was hunting up near Loch Corrib. Probably by the Joyce clan.
Ah.
So then O'Flaherty, he was meant to be a bit of a hothead, but I feel like everyone was back then.
Yeah.
They didn't have hats yet.
But it wasn't very hot in the country, so I don't know. They all had temperatures from the fevers that they were picking up every second day.
Jesus, I'm roasting. You have cholera. What's going on?
What happened to you? Well, I've just been eating bits of uncooked meat that I've been finding on the ground, and I feel terrible. I haven't seen a vegetable do the inside of a bath in 17 years. So, nothing new.
But sure, I mean, I couldn't be dehydrated. I've been drinking litres and litres of mead and stout every single day.
I was thirsty, so I just started scooping in salt water from the sea. What the fuck else was I supposed to do?
What do you mean I'm getting my 5 a day? I'm drinking 17 bottles of wine. I'm getting all the grapes in the land. But, well, do you know who else was a bit of a hothead, Kev?
Whom?
The lads who Grace poured melted lead on top of from the top of Hen's Castle when they tried to attack it. Now, not sure if it was that particular attack. I think this one might have... Yeah, no, I think this is a separate attack, because I think this sounds like it was the English attacking at some point. But under serious pressure, so they were. But thankfully, Grace had the foresight to set up a bunch of signal beacons on the nearby Hill of Doon to tell people they need help. Like the Lord of the Rings.
Exactly like the Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
She set them up on the Hill of Doon. Was the Hill of Doon, was that the Red Mountain?
No, it was
out there?
It was actually called Mount Doon.
Oh, was that not Jarrig Doon, no? Are you sure they weren't on Jarrig Doon? On Jarrig Doon?
Let me think. No, I have nothing for you here now. I do love that song. That was
why
very
you know
good.
It's a great song.
Anyway, Grace avenged his death.
Right.
Grace avenged Donald's death, but the O'Flaherty clan didn't follow the rule of allowing women to inherit their dead husband's possessions.
Oh.
Yeah, not sound. So she left the clan. Now, she brought some of her followers with her, because some people were on board with her.
Listen, very good ship pun, and I'm supporting her all the way here, but it also seems like she didn't so much leave the clan as they kicked her out.
Yes.
Well, you're not going to be able to inherit all of his possessions. Oh, really? Well, I am out of here. Yes, that was sort of implied, Grace. That's kind of what we were aiming at.
No, don't try and stop me. No, I've had enough of it. No one's trying. No, I've had enough of this now.
Oh, it's too late.
It's just Donald's ma, Grace's mother-in-law, just kind of hanging around at Christmas after he's died. She's coming over for the roast, just going to, Grace, she never really learned how to cook for Donald. He would always be going out to the chippers. She's one of these modern working women. She wants, she wouldn't even put the makeup on. She wouldn't put on a dress, not even for International Women's Day.
Yeah, so she avenged her fallen husband, and then the family kicked her out of the clan.
They kick her out. Some of the people follow her. Obviously, she has her own followers from the O'Malley clan, and then so because she'd be the heir to that, obviously. So the throne, do you call it the throne? Is it just a lord, or I should have probably looked into that myself. But anyway, she takes them. She heads back towards the O'Malley lands, so she's back living now as a ruler again. None of this dividing up the power with another rich family. But she wasn't to be long without love, Kevin, as later that year she rescued a man from the sea, a one Hugh de Lacy.
Oh.
A whirlwind romance ensued, and she fell in love with him. Best way to get over one love being murdered?
Get on to the next one.
Have a passionate but brief romance with another man who's soon to be murdered.
Well, I mean, listen, these are the times. But so, hang on. What do you mean she rescued him from the sea? Did he wash up on shore with this Frenchman?
I assumed it was probably one of those like proverbs from the Bible. Do you know, a man's out there at sea saying, don't worry, God's going to come and save me. And then another boat comes by and he says, don't worry, God's going to save me. And then another boat comes by and Grace says, stop being a gobshite, and pulls him out of the sea.
Motherfucker.
Yeah.
I thought it was an old timely, Ireland has long had a sort of odd relationship with our alcoholism. Maybe it was one of those she saved him from the sea. He was just a full blown alcoholic, and she got him to not stop drinking, obviously, but just cut it down to weekdays and occasions.
Why not weekends? No, he couldn't be around people who had the free time, because all it would be.
There's only 2 weekends. There's 5 weekdays. It was a much bigger challenge, in fairness. So she saves him from the sea, and then they have a brief, torrid love affair.
I wouldn't say torrid. I'd say beautiful, and not affair. I'd say romance and relationship. But it obviously doesn't last long, because you're right. Yeah, de Lacy's killed by the McMahon clan.
Good. I like how you said I was right there, even though I didn't say that at all. Thank you. You nailed it. You got it in one, Kev. He was killed by the Oman clan. I know you saw that coming.
Now, again, Grace would avenge this death too. This time storming her opposition's castle, overthrowing those inside, earning herself the name the Dark Lady of Doona.
Okay.
Yeah, so now
This is so this is why Duna is she set up on Dune Mountain.
well, I assume, yeah, that's it's
Well, when you started into the story, like I knew bits about Grace O'Malley, but I didn't know she was like Ireland's Saruman.
yeah.
Here she is living on Mount Dune.
Sauron, and also was one of the foremost leaders at the frontier of transitioning classical Irish traditional music into the modern rock and roll type era of the 80s and 90s. Now, she by this stage she's probably over the whole love thing. As a year later,
As a concept.
yeah, because like with a fella for 19 years, he dies. You find another fella, he dies a year later. All of a sudden, if you go out with one more person and then they die, everyone's going to start calling you the Black Widow. Or
Of course.
or alternatively, I'm going to start calling you the Black Widow to everybody.
Well, now she's going on. She's essentially John Wick, and she's gone and like stormed castles and avenged all of her husband's death. It's this classic 80s action trope. If a man was doing that, avenged, like Bond avenged in a way several women that died around him, you wouldn't call him a Black Widow. You just called him a
funny
legend.
concept of Bond. No, that's not what happened. Bond assaulted a bunch of women.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
then because he had a Scottish accent, just got away with
I'm
it.
very conscious this is Women's History Month, and I'm running behind Grace O'Malley on this one.
Right. Let's stop talking about Grace O'Malley. Let's get back to Sean Connery, Jason. Let's get back to Sean Connery. You haven't talked about him in a while.
Let's talk about what this podcast is really about.
So see, it's a year later now at this stage, and I reckon she's. So yeah, it's a year later. It's a year after his death, the second fella, and now she's after marrying a new lad called Richard Burke.
Okay.
And this is a far more political move than the earlier ones, because I thought the other stuff's for love, and now she's over that.
She's married for love, now she's married for riches.
Oh, here we go. And also to shore up their reign over the coast of Ireland. He was the dad to the first ever Viscount of Mayo.
Okay.
Which is not important. I just know that I like the word Viscount, so I say it anytime I can. It's my favourite biscuit. Now, maybe...
And now, was she the mother of the first Viscount of Mayo?
No. Doesn't seem like it anyway. But I'm disappointed with you, Kev, because you could have been like, maybe it is love, Jason. It can be convenient and love simultaneously, Like a green card marriage.
Like Charles and Camilla, or you and whatever woman you convinced to let you stay in America.
I've got like 6 weeks left. Just give me a call. Again, it is 314-578-7110. I have got a couple of weeks left in the country.
Come on, people.
But
do your part.
In this case, it definitely is political, because she goes to his castle Rockfleet, to see Burke. And she makes...
Wait, actually, no, sorry. That's a terrible name. Rocks would make a terrible fleet.
I
don't know much about ship making, Jason. But,
Ireland has a history of not knowing much about ship making, particularly with the most famous ships.
Yeah, listen. My grandfather worked in Belfast for Harland and Wolff. He was there day in, day out.
He worked from Belfast all the way to Cork making boats.
They used to make the ships out of straw, if you'd believe it. And he said, no. And he started making them out of stone. He was a bit of a loose man, I'll grant you that.
Probably shouldn't have been left in charge of all the welding.
No.
Now, she goes up to his castle Rockfleet, knocks on the door and says, is Burke in there? I want to have a go off him. And he comes out and she goes, hey, let's get married for a period of 1 year to strengthen ourselves against the English. And what was meant to be 1 year eventually turned into a further 17 until his death in 1583.
Beautiful.
After a year, it said that she was quoted as saying, I release you. But they stayed together anyway.
That's beautiful. That's the.
No, do you want to take back your "that's beautiful"? Because now you found out that she was like, "I'm done with you," and he's like, "What if I just hang around anyway? What if I just watch? We already have the same Netflix account. It's our friends are friends with each other. If you're saying you don't really want to be with me, but also you don't want to be with anyone else, why don't we just kind of stick around with each other and see if at some point maybe it rekindles some kind of feeling or emotion for me?" And I've realised now what's after happening is I've just started replaying former memories.
And this is like as soon as I'm just imagining all of the schlocky. I think it's because we were watching that Wild Time trailer recently.
Wild Old Mountain Time.
Wild Old Mountain Time. As soon as you said, like, I release you, I immediately imagined some, like, Emily Blunt in the rain, the two of them are embracing, and Grace O'Malley is all, I release you, and slaps him across the face for good measure, and he's like, damn it, I'm here to stay.
What's it like an Irish rip-off of, what is it, Old Yeller, or what's the thing where you're like, nobody wants you anymore.
Exactly.
Go,
Get out of
go
here.
out.
I release you. Your job is done. And this would be like Act 2.
Do you think it would be a better film if they did that same thing, but Jamie Dornan was talking to a dog? The dog might have a better Irish accent.
Maybe. Yeah, of course, yeah. In this version of the story, Grace O'Malley would be played by someone who's never set foot in Ireland or heard anyone from Cork speak before. It'd be a classic Act 2 mix-up where neither of them would talk about their feelings, and they would both assume that the other thought that it was just contractually obligated, and just because the year was up doesn't mean that any feelings had formed between the two of them. And they both part ways, Jason. They both separate, and then slowly come to the realization that there was something more there.
I don't know. I don't think so.
Well, listen, it's going to be in cinemas next February 14th.
I know, and I've just broken like the improv law. You know, I'm always meant to say like, oh, you know, yes, and go to the next thing, and I'm like, no, Kevin, that's not what's going to happen, because I'll tell you how most marriages end.
There's
today
very few schools of
divorce.
improv that are like, no, and here's why you're wrong.
Yeah, here's why you're wrong, and allow me to explain to the audience why you're a fucking idiot.
Yeah, the contrary to yes and no, but
it's the Irish yes and.
Yeah, 50% of marriages end in divorce, but 50% of marriages succeed, which is a wildly high statistic.
Oh yeah, it is crazy.
Everyone you've ever met.
Yeah.
Like half of those relationships last till one of them dies, and not by murder, Jason, by natural causes. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, I assume that it's not a handful of people. Paint them all with the one brush, but there's probably a couple of people accounting for a lot of those divorces. Like Ernest Hemingway.
Yeah.
Like, if I might never get married, and Ernest Hemingway's divorces would just cover up for like 4 or 5 other people.
And, you know, the idea
Larry King is,
Yes.
he, as a single entity, as one person, as a one-person statistic,
he was never a single entity. That was the problem, Jason. He was constantly...
Yeah, he was constantly divorced.
Yeah.
But...
And was the idea that, like, our parents' generation would be like, you kids today don't understand the sanctity of marriage. It wasn't us that was meeting someone for 3 weeks when we were 20 and being like, yeah, let's give it a shot. Yeah. And then getting married and being pregnant within 9 months and a day within the marriage.
Well, he didn't hit me, and that's enough. Well, she let me have sex with her. So that's, it's a match made in heaven.
I met him for about 4 weeks when I was 19, and I really wanted to find out what sex was about. So here we are 73 years later. 42 kids, and sure, you know yourself. I hate his fucking guts, and I wish I could take back every second of it. But listen, you're ruining marriage, you kids these days.
Oh, right.
Tell me about the pirate again.
So in 1567, I was going to say, so he just decides to stay an unhappily married man, and she just seemingly doesn't care about him whatsoever.
Oh.
In 1567, one of her ships was under attack by a bunch of pirates, and despite Grace having just given birth to one of Burke's kids, Theobald, she goes up on deck to fight with the men.
Oh, like quite literally just giving birth?
Yes.
Like she gave birth on the ship, okay.
Looks like it, yeah. She spilt blood and then went out to spill some other blood. So a modern woman...
Was it a natural birth or was it a C-section?
Was it a water birth?
Hey, there it is. Who says the idea of a pregnant woman fighting a load of pirates for her life can't be funny?
I will. I'll be the person to say that.
We probably should tone it back.
I say modern women would be a bit lazy in comparison.
Yeah. Oh, look at me. I need maternity leave. I can't go back to my job for 9 months so I can spend time with my child in their nascent stage while they're growing and developing. Get out there and fight a fucking pirate.
Well, I think maybe actually in hindsight, she probably should have not done that, because she probably didn't create as much of a bond with the kid. Because as Theobald grows older, he's not as much of a beast as his mother. There's even this story of a time they're attacking a castle, Kinturk Castle, I believe. But she reckons he's been a bit of a wimp, and hiding from danger during the attack. So she screams at him, An ag iru dúil I volach ó an manchin atá tú an át a tanning tú as.
I know what you just
Kevin,
said.
I know you're well aware. That is harsh words.
For the people at home, explain.
Oh no, sure. Why don't you? No, I think they've already heard me say it once. Now you should probably
listen. This is your story, Jason. You're behind the wheel on this one.
Okay,
take it away there.
Okay,
I don't want to step on your toes.
They say she goes, "Are you trying to hide in my arse? The place that you came out of me." So that sounds like a tough life for Theo, because the mother's never. I mean, that's not. You don't want your ma doing that.
I mean, working in the same place as your mother.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird being in like your mother's workplace, but having your ma shout stuff like that at you across a battlefield while you're trying to storm a castle, not helpful.
Also, but she doesn't have a very good understanding of biology. If she thinks she gave birth out of her arse.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, it's a better slang.
Maybe she just didn't want to have the birds and the bees conversation yet with him.
Yeah, she was trying to, like, that's a fairly tried and true tactic from Irish parents, where they just teach you that
you could
anal sex is the only one.
Now, over the years of her life, England had taken more and more of a hold over Ireland and offered an English title to the chieftains who would surrender and took the soup, as it were. But Grace would not bend.
But is it or Henry VIII is still the king of England at this stage? Does he become the first, king of Ireland?
Ireland was too concerned about king of the town than we were king of the nation.
Well, probably this is Silken Thomas, is it? Is this time? Well, because you were saying at the start of this episode, this is like Henry VIII's time, and he became like the first king of Ireland, as it was, because we'll probably do a different episode about this at some point, but because of his cousin Silken Thomas.
Steal the thunder of my podcast.
This is stuff you love, Silken Thomas.
I know I do. It's one of my favorite names, but don't hijack my podcast.
I'm sorry, do go on.
Yeah. Don't come in here with facts and figures and statistics and truths. I'm here with happenstance and hearsay.
Yeah, this is what the people want to hear.
Yeah. So the English are now in charge of Ireland, more and more so, taking over more and more land. But they're given the equivalent of the soup to the chieftains, who say, okay, fair enough, we'll give up the land. Grace, not a chance. She's 56 and has been through the real war, love. So she's seen it all. She's kind of past it now. She doesn't really care.
Is Richard, is he dead? Her third husband dead now at this stage?
I don't know. She probably doesn't even care about him, to be honest. He could still be there. And she's like, 3 of my loves have been taken from me. He's like, darling, I'm still... Shut the fuck up. I wasn't referencing you. There was this stable boy called John. Yes, we had stables on the sea. He was a seahorse.
It's where we kept the seahorses.
Now, in steps Sir Richard Bingham.
Oh yeah,
an awful bastard of a man.
Oh no,
and no good Nick. But this would have been.
Sounds like one of those alphabet books when we were kids.
Like Andy Apple.
Yeah, no good Nick.
And Orange, the Orangeman. The
Orange Man says no.
Y is for yes. O is for Orange Man says no. Did you think it was weird at any point during Trump's presidency when everyone was like, scary orange man or bad orange man, and just no one in Ireland ever referenced it?
Yeah, true. That's a good point. Look what this terrible orange man has done today. What have they done? What's the DUP?
Orange man incites violence at the Capitol.
Yeah, what have the DUP done?
What are we on about it?
Did you see that quote that Jeffrey Donaldson was saying the other day?
Jeffrey Donaldson Trump?
It's all right there in front of us. Did you see? He was talking about because of Brexit now, there's a border down the Irish Sea. And he was on some Northern Ireland radio show and he was saying, I wish someone could show me any other example in the world where you have this kind of border right down the middle of a country. An internal border within a country that separates one part of the country from the other. And that simply is not acceptable. It is damaging our economy and we are not going to accept it.
I know, because Korea is right there in front of your eyes.
I mean, for God's sake, have you not ever heard of Kim Jong-il? Come on.
Or Tipperary.
Educate yourself. Or Meath or Westmeath.
Where have we gone to now? So like I was saying, Kev, in steps Richard Bingham.
Yeah.
He's a governor he's over in Ireland, making life awkward for those who don't bend the knee. Yeah, he's imprisoned Grace and a few of her men, but her son-in-law, a man called Richard Devon, the Devil's Hook.
That was his name?
Yeah.
That's a great name.
And I found out why. But he rescued her from prison, but more likely death, because that's usually what happens to people in prison at the time, I guess. But she was captured and convicted twice of being a pirate, but seemingly Queen Elizabeth pardoned her because she was impressed with her, maybe?
Yeah. Because this is a story that I don't know if you're going to say this now, but this is a story I heard where the two of them met and they refused.
Well, I'd say I am going to tell it, so you don't ruin my podcast. Don't stop trying to ruin my podcast, Kevin. This is my podcast. Go get your own podcast. You tell your story.
Go on.
No, yeah, he goes about this Bingham fella. He goes about making life tough, making sure she doesn't have any income, and is always on the run, looking over her shoulder. They're taxing the shite out of Ireland and her goods and income, so she starts taxing people to use her waters. If they wouldn't pay, well, she was a pirate, so you get the drift.
When I first met Grace O'Malley, it was on the beaches of southern Spain, and she was walking around selling bootleg DVD copies of Click and some other
Final Destination 2.
Final Destination 2. She was as good a pirate as the rest of them.
The English were trying to tax her. They were saying that it's $250,000 if you're caught with a camera inside of a ship.
Like, you wouldn't download a horse and carriage, so why is it okay to download a ye olde scroll?
That whole thing's gone now as well. Like, piracy.
We're all bamboozled by the shiny keys of Netflix and Amazon Prime and Hulu. And
I haven't looked into it enough yet, but I did just see a tweet. It was a Twitch live stream from Metallica that Twitch had stopped the live stream of and then just replaced all of the audio with 8-bit folk music because they were worried about the DMCA, the piracy laws that Metallica were so heavy on back in the 90s.
That Lars was like,
we need to make our money. We've only got 17 gold statues of all of ourselves in our houses. That they were like, no, we can't risk the DMCA, so no, you're not going to get to do your live stream.
And well, this is also something that I've based off of headlines and could be completely wrong, but am I right in saying that American cops have started playing licensed music while they're doing untoward things so that the footage can't be shared widely from their body cams because it'll get fucking picked up? So you can attack and murder a black man, but as long as you're playing licensed music,
Neil Young, and then Neil Young has to jump online and go, "It's not okay. This is not okay. I'm an artist. I deserve to be paid for my creative endeavor."
Yeah, but it would just get automatically picked up by YouTube and Facebook as breaking piracy laws. So then it won't be shared as official.
That is the worst and most genius thing.
It's brilliant. If that's not what they're doing, and I've accidentally come up with that idea, I'm very sorry, America.
No, just not tarnish the whole nation now. That's exactly what it is.
Connect your Spotify playlist to your body cam for easy access.
But back to Queen Elizabeth and Grace.
Yes.
So she writes to Queen Elizabeth to complain about Bingham. But instead of that fixing anything, she gets no response. And then her son Theobald, if you remember from earlier on, from being a bitch, and then her half-brother Donal were thrown in jail.
Right.
So she says, feck it. She's not writing any more letters. She's taking matters into her own hands. She's heading straight over to England. Gets granted a meeting with Queen Elizabeth at Greenwich Palace. So this is the woman that's got her pardon twice.
Yes.
So she not only gets the lads released, but was allowed to rule over her clan back in Mayo and was given given some financial compensation. She had to stop being a pirate, though, and then support England. But she had her own clan, and Bingham was told to feck off, leave her alone.
Yeah.
So she obviously has something going on there with Queen Elizabeth and it's not really explained because when they would meet, seemingly it was behind closed doors.
But it's just two powerful women getting shit done.
It's the matriarchy, is what it is.
It's the matriarchy.
Yeah. these two women, they're friends, they're mates.
Yeah.
And they're using that to hold power.
Matriarchy. Was what the story I'd always heard is that when the two of them met, O'Malley refused to speak English, and Queen Elizabeth didn't know Irish, but they both communicated in Latin as their common tongue.
It looks like they seemingly spoke Latin, or maybe there might have been other people in the room when she was talking to the Queen. It's just that because they were speaking in another language, like as is often the case when Irish people speak Irish to each other, and all of the other Irish people in the room can't do that. So we just kind of nod along and smile and go, yeah.
There it is, the language of my people. Tigam,
Sláinte, Cunis, Boher, Coppel, Banya.
A classic.
Oh, Lord. Anyway, I may go home. Anyway, it was nice chatting to you. Slán. It could have just been a case of that they're talking in Latin, and everyone else is just kind of sat around, and they're trying to fix a way so that she doesn't have to serve time in jail. All of her sons get off. She gets these allowances that she shouldn't get because nobody else has ever gotten before. And then everyone else is just sat around going, do you think they're talking about me?
Yeah.
Is that what it was? We had a weird interaction earlier on. We went for a handshake, but I went a bit limper than I usually would. And then afterwards, I had to tighten up because I'd realised they went stronger with it, and it made it look like I was trying to assert dominance in this situation.
I was trying to overcompensate.
Could have been something like that.
And I'm all right with a woman in power. I mean, listen, I'd be the first to say that I'm okay with it. But on another level, it terrifies me, and I really don't know what's happening. And I don't like the idea of these two women just, talking.
On one hand, it seems like a perfectly reasonable thing to do, but on the other hand, it's wrong and we should burn them.
I'm scared about new things, and I don't like what it says about my attempts to hold power in the future.
All of these years we've been thinking we've just been burning witches. It's actually just been self-conscious men going, let's just burn these women. These strong, powerful women.
I've got 10 people to compete with in the office, and if we level the playing field, that literally doubles my numbers. So, you know what? I don't think women are human at all. And foreigners? Not a fan.
Now, Bingham.
Yes.
He's already been told, Kev, that he's after, leave her alone. Stop being at her. Stop being at her. She's not the worst. Leave her alone. The Queen is now saying, why are you being such a dick? And you know what he goes and does?
What?
Well, I don't want to say he goes and does it. He has a brother, and he kills Owen, Grace's son, and took over his castle / stronghold.
Okay, so Bingham's brother
kills... But Bingham's been told, you've to leave this woman alone, and he goes, grand, I will so. Now, happenstance and coincidence, as it would have it.
Yeah.
Now, my brother has killed her son and then taken over his castle.
And I had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, nothing. Don't even really talk to him, to be honest. He'd sent me a carrier pigeon the other day, but I just left it on the one tick instead of getting the two.
It was one of those lads pigeon things, My pigeon terror system is automatically set to save the scrolls to my inbox, that's what I call the box that I put my scrolls in. And I don't necessarily look at all the stuff that's there. So just because it's still in my inbox months later doesn't mean I saw it necessarily.
And just because I've liked it or forwarded it to other friends doesn't mean I've necessarily seen the thing. It's just that I've seen the reaction that other people have had to it and thought, I know people who might enjoy this.
I forward memes without even looking at them. That's just the sort of man that I am.
But yeah, he killed her son. Bingham's brother.
Okay.
He had somehow tricked him into coming outside of the walls of his castle. I imagine to be like, hey, do you want to come out and just we'll squash the beef? And the second he walks outside,
he squashed his beef.
Yes.
With a hammer.
Steal his cattle. Kill him. Burn everyone. But yeah, then Bingham would pressure the other son, Morrow, into being a turncoat.
Right.
So he'd flip over, and then I guess probably for the same deal as what all your chieftains were getting. But then Grace would never speak to him again.
Fair.
Some reports said that she'd still speak shite about him while he was in the room, but not directly to him.
Not directly at him.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I was giving him the silent treatment. You know who's an awful shite? That Morrow fella. She'd picked it up from her first husband's mother, Grace's mother-in-law. She learned all about how to talk shit about someone backhandedly directly in front of them while paying them compliments to other people. Now, to finish off, Kev, because we're here now at the end of O'Malley, once she'd signed off with the Queen, and she'd taken the kind of, I don't want to say a pardon, but yeah, the deal. She took the deal.
She took the deal.
She took the soup. Her rivals, but she'd be called a traitor at this stage now.
Okay.
By her rivals back in Ireland. But, you know, at the same time, feck them, because, you know, history is written by the victor, and she's the pirate queen. And
Victor O'Sullivan, who wrote this history, was very favourable about Grace O'Malley.
He was, but also, you know, Grace is the only one who has like songs written about her, because that's really who wins history. It's like, history is written by the victor. No, history is written by the people that make the catchiest songs.
History is sung by drunk lads in a pub at 2 a.m.
Yeah. And then worst case scenario, I don't know if we really agree with that song in modern times. It's not about the context of the song or the content of the song. It's just about, I love my country. It's like, yeah, but you're talking about openly bombing people. Yes, but for the love of the nation. I wouldn't have agreed with the acts at the time. I'm just saying that's how much I love my country. Now, the reason it said those lads don't have songs written about them is because there is a song written about Grace O'Malley, and you'd know it well, Larny.
Yeah. Isn't O Roche...
O Roche de Vahavalya, O Roche de Vahavalya, early in the morning... Because I don't know, what's the last line of that in Gaelic? Do you know it? I don't.
Anish Chalk on Saturday. It's, oh, Ro, you're welcome home. Oh, Ro, you're welcome home. Oh, Ro, you're welcome home. Now that the summer is coming. But because we talked about that song previously, and that there's another paragraph that's connected to the Jacobite Rebellion, which would have happened about 200 years after the O'Malley story, where they tied it to like James, young James.
Lesser James,
baby James. So I think it is just this old Irish song that every couple of years they stick on another paragraph to make it about the current times. Okay, well, so looking at it, then the ones about Grace O'Malley, the lyrics are To Gráinne Ní Mháille Teachtar Saile Ógle Arma Lema Garda Gael is féin is ní Frachna Spania Is Curfy Sheed Ruger Galyov. Gráinne O'Malley is coming over the sea, armed warriors along with her as her guard. They are Irish themselves, not French nor Spanish, and they will root the foreigners. Which, for all of our Australian listeners, does not mean what you think it means.
Anyway, Grace returned home, having taken the oath with Queen Elizabeth, and she returned home, lived out the rest of her life in Mayo, in relative quiet, before dying in 1603, passing away peacefully in her bed at the age of 73.
A brave age.
So that was Grace O'Malley, the Pirate Queen episode. Looks like it's going to be the last episode of the season here from Shite Talk. I was about to say that really stupid Dublin thing of the Irish media thing of Shite Talk HQ. That's all from Shite Talk Towers.
But there are no towers in this city. But I think we have referred to Shite Talk HQ a few times. I don't know what exactly that would be. Would it be my small bedroom?
We don't have skyscrapers, but Dublin has a multitude of headquarters. They're just not high-rises. They're very small. They're actually keeping the country from growing.
In true Dublin headquarters style, it's actually a tiny room with a PO box that all of our international taxes are put through. But, hopefully you enjoyed that episode. Hopefully you enjoyed at least 10% of all the episodes we put out. And here's another classic end of season bucket speech. Please leave us some reviews, write us some nice messages, follow us on social media, which is basically just Instagram, and give us some funds at Buy Me a Coffee if you feel like it.
It'll be Paddy's Day or the week of. Tell all your friends about us, and being Irish and it being Paddy's Day, there's some kind of a connection there.
I mean, what's more Irish than forcing your mates to listen to the two of us talk about this?
Tomorrow you might be listening to this on St. Patrick's Day. Stereotypically in Ireland, you'd be spending, what would you say, Jason? I'd say at least
170
25 to 30 euro.
I overshot there.
You did. Listen, man, I'm not proud of it, but sometimes I go out when I'm on the Raz, I'd be spending like 25, 30 quid. Gone. So with lockdown and everything happening tomorrow, you probably won't be spending that much money. So maybe throw some of it our way. Or just throw some of it out of a window. Whichever feels right to you.
I would say you'd be better off giving it to us.
Well, we'd
and
be
if you'd
better
even
off.
like to buy a T-shirt, if you'd like something tangible for your money, you could buy a T-shirt off us. That way you get something back for it as well.
Yeah, perfect. You can do that at bigcartel@chaitalkhistory.com. But all right, well, thanks very much.
Shafter.
See ya.
Bye.